Hmm. Hmm. I love conception art. Very interesting. Very good. Like, conception art is like sketching. Might be not, might be a bit more refined than a sketch, but it's like, you don't put too much effort into it. It should just serve as a general purpose to see what visually is meant to be put into the game. Blackmail. Eternal. Positive. These things. So annoying. Extremely fast, but the sounds they make. Ah. This is basically looking at an MMO, going like, yeah, we need an enemy design. How about this one? And then we need like stronger enemies later in the game. How about the same enemy, just different colors? You know it's serious when you fight purple crabs. And like in the third one, like the body standing there like, hell yeah, I have another life form on my head. Yeah? That boss. Interesting designs. This is like the final design, but here are like other things, other designs for the entire thing. I think more disturbing than anything is like, it's this worm, but apparently inside the worm is another worm that sprays the water out of both ends. Like a double-sided worm inside a worm, inside a double-sided worm. It's like, huh? I'm glad they didn't pick the left design. That is so cliche. Details, man. Huh. So they had like different plans for this fight? Like with platforms instead? Interesting. Uh-huh. Oh, I'm glad. Oh no, that's the last phase of the boss. I see. Okay. I like the middle bottom one. That's good. That's good. It's good to see from a Chinese developer. eating burger. Come on, you want it? Happy birthday. Uh-huh. Interesting. Uh-huh. Yeah. Makes sense. Right. I guess those are related to the people. Yeah. Original soundtrack. Project Mo. Screens. Halloween? Huh? What? This is a stealth mission. Mo goes to the beach. Mo is listening to soundtrack. Mo is becoming a Pokemon. Pokemon. Mm-hmm. Oh no. No. Don't do that, Mo. Don't drink Coca-Cola. Ah. Baguette. Oui, oui. Très bien. Mangez les baguettes. I don't like this. The red is too crazy on the eye. This is much more comforting on the eyes. What in everything is this? Turkey? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Chrysler. Winter sale. Hmm. Interesting. Definitely interesting. Yeah. Okay. My. Let's come back here. Time to turn off filters. Where am I? There I am. Wow. Yeah, okay. That's Mo Astray. Uh hmm. Hmm. I'm a bit confused in the story. Like, I get it. Okay. So okay, I get it. It's like science fiction, blah. And then an accident which then throws one ship through the space continuum somewhere else, where they then start to experiment on extremity, which is basically an infinite energy source, which it can be under our current knowledge about energy. And then they do these experiments, they use like humans, mash them into meat, use the meat to do all those things. But there are like several points in the story which are strange. Like on one side, there is a scene where this light brown hair guy with the mask who died later to the spores. Before that, he goes to some of the researchers and kills and kills them. So the strange part is I think I remember that the same person he kills, if I remember correctly, he kills himself. Like it's the same person, but he storms in with the gas mask on and shoots his other self. And it's strange because he says, like, that's like the last one or something like that in that kind of area. I'm not entirely sure if he means like as killing scientists or killing himself. That isn't clear. And if my memory is wrong and he just means like, okay, good, I killed the last possible scientist on this, then there's still this problem of I don't understand Greenbell. Like there's Mentis Corporation, which is only interested in making bioweapons and weapons with science stuff. And then there is the other corporation, which I think is Warner Bros. It's called WB, but I call it Warner Bros. Um, which is, if I remember correctly, under the direction of Dr. Greenbell, who basically wants to do scientific research for good. For like, hey, we want to research extremity, make it possible as a new energy source for mankind, blah, 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 blah. But I have like the problem to understand, like, why is the masked guy going around killing the scientists? Like, they get stranded in another time space continuum through an accident. And they want to go home. And because they want to go home, they have to understand how extremity works, how they can use it. And I guess because these two corporations or institutions, the Warner Brothers and Mentis Corp, are like on the same ship or something like that. That they looked for a reason, for a possibility to control the energy, and they use like people to transform them. I guess maybe I do the wrong conclusion here. Maybe you have these two institutions. They're on the same ship. The accident happens. They're getting thrown in a different space time continuum. They all want to go home. And Mantis Corporation creates the final boss, like this machine. But this machine cannot control the energy. It's too much. And then you have the Warner Bros. Corporation under Dr. Greenbell. They also try to find a solution to control this energy. But instead of pushing it into a robot and trying to control it, instead they try to make like an ascended life form out of humans, but it never works. But it never works until the moment that Dr. Greenbell sees that this one assistant has the best possibility to go through this experiment and become this new life form able to control extremity, which is our final boss, the other blob, her. But she remembers that he used her to turn her into that. And it succeeds, but he puts her into jail, so to say, and advises the artificial intelligence of the ship to protect everything. To protect everything and goes somewhere. I'm not sure if I remember that I found his body, like Dr. Greenbell. I'm not sure if I find his body. I don't think so. So we basically don't know where he went. Is he still alive? Did he survive? Did he go somewhere? I don't remember that we had any information about that. And she is trapped. She is trapped, but she remembers this. And for some reason, she is able to make similar life forms like herself. And she controls those life forms via a link because she is an actual success in this. She can do some kind of long distance control link, or maybe she programs them from the beginning that their purpose is to find her, because literally the link only worked when we came closer. So yeah. So the AI actually protects the entire tower, but lost control of the lower parts because of the entire accident with the spores, which killed basically everybody. And that's also the reason why these life forms we encounter, these villagers, so to say, who were inhabitants of this planet, and we crash landed on this planet. And because of that, they basically saw us as a threat. I think, I'm not entirely sure, because no, it makes sense. Like, they were there, they attacked us. We are the sky people. We fell from the sky with this ship. And I think that's why we see that in the background at towards the ending in the background. I think it was like this entire thing here, this ship is like an actual space station, so to say. And I think it cracked into two. So like the upper part, the round upper part is still in orbit. That's why you see it in the background. And the lower part crashed down on the planet, which then created this tower. But still, the story is not entirely clear. She became the successful experiment of Dr. Greenbell. He experimented on her because she was the only one to become an actual success, which she did. This is clear. What is not clear is why did the one scientist under Dr. Greenbell with the light brown hair, which I forgot his name, why did he go rogue? That's the question. Because apparently he was the one who released the spores. But why? That's the question. Like, why? Was it just because of the entire situation that they tried to make this life form to exist, but always fail? And then they started feeding more humans into the machine to have material to create more experiments. And it never really worked. It created like living zombies that feel incredible pain but cannot express it, but they also do not die. And they wanted to stop that. I can see that that would make logical sense. Like, okay, I want to put a stop to these horrible experiments, but nobody's stopping because everybody's desperate to go home. So I will force them to stop. That would make sense. So he releases the spores, creates this whole mess to stop them. But then again, why is he still running around and killing scientists? Like he has a plan of killing specific 4 people, one of them Dr. Greenbell, and then 3 others. The 3 others basically are like bosses in this game, if I saw this correctly. Just to stop it, but it's not actually really helping. People still want to go back. The experiment is the only possibility to create an infinite energy resource that would allow them to jump back into their space continuum. It's just weird that Dr. Greenbell, who had the best intention of doing this, sacrifices basically this person, which I don't know the exact relationship to that woman. Elara, I think. I don't exactly remember if they were like in a close relationship or something like that, or just like work colleagues, but she respected him a lot. So he takes her, he transforms her, she's an absolute success. And then I don't understand. Like, if it's a success, why did he then trap her and told the artificial intelligence, like, keep this intact? The whole mess going on below with the spores, people dying. I need to resolve this somehow, but this upper part of the tower needs to stay intact. You need to do this. I also gave you secret instructions. I gave you a list of people that need to stay alive and some people that need to die or mostly die. So, A, why do this? We have no real explanation for that. 2, where did he go? We haven't found him. We don't know if he's alive. Is he somewhere? Uh? She wakes up, is trapped, is not human anymore, but she's the first experiment that succeeds in controlling extremegy, but she cannot get out. She's also trapped because the AI protects her from getting free. But nobody's responding. Nobody comes, nobody's responding. Dr. Greenbell seems apparently be missing. The whole disaster below, which is just trying to put a stop to the experiments, which is already too late since the experiment is a success. But that makes no sense. Like, the experiment is a success. And they always talk about that in the law of going like, oh, we tried this and we tried that and it doesn't work and we need to stop. And then they find something that apparently works, but they never really explain it. I guess I have to assume from what we read, what from the law, that they probably found the plant and started to research the plant and feel and felt like, okay, we can use the plant. We know the plant allows to take over the nervous system of a human. But how is this playing into the research of creating an extremity being? Because why? It's not a human anymore. It makes no sense. Like, the plant gives you prolonged life, as you see with the inhabitants of the planet, but what does it matter? Does it matter at all? I don't know. I mean, all it shows is like, okay, you have a huge prolonged life as a humanoid being, as the inhabitants on the planet. That's it. So they tried to combine that with the other research to create a long living extremity being, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. Also, the part of like can take over a humanoid nervous system, which is interesting, but then again, we are a blob. We are not a humanoid. We have maybe still the consciousness of a humanoid, but is it important? Is this why we combine the plant with the research to create extremity beings? That's why the Mo and all its clones of it before the actual Mo we play can be controlled by by Elena, whatever her name is. But it's like not clear. It's like at the end, Mo can talk, which is strange. What does that mean? Does it mean that Dr. Greenbell went and made those things, transferring his own consciousness into them so he could go there and overtake her, controlling her? Is that the idea? Like, we talked. Before that, Mo never talked. So is that a different consciousness in Mo that then became clear? I don't know. Or is it just fragments, memories of her that reside in Mo, which then came to the surface, and that's why Mo could talk for a moment? Because we literally give her back all her memories. Like, all her memories are given back to her, and then we merge with her, and she falls down. To no avail, because all we literally managed is to destroy the Mantis Corp extremity weapon. That's the only thing we achieved. She's still alive, and she still wants revenge on Jeremiah Greenbell, which we still don't know if he's even alive. We don't know. Like, the AI insists on not freeing her at all. He did it countless times before us. stopping other copies of us to achieve freeing her? Is it because he knows she is vengeful? Is it that he knows the emotions she has, the lost memories she has, causes her to only become evil? And that's why you need to contain her? I feel a bit torn about the story. Like, the story started out really interesting. Like, it keeps you going. It keeps you going. It keeps you reading the thoughts, the entries you get when you overtake a being or a corpse, to understand the environment and what was going on. I also appreciate that in between the chapters we can read those comics, which give an introspective into the past of the game to understand what's going on. But all in all, it still leaves a good amount of questions in the room of going like, okay, in general, at the core, I do understand the story, but you leave very important questions open and do not answer them. But these unanswered questions are the actual essential one. Like, really, we don't know what's going on with Greenbell. Is he alive? Is he not? Was he merged with the artificial intelligence? I don't know. Why keeping her locked up when she is the actual success of the research, the only thing that apparently is able to control extremity, which you all need to leave this place? Apart from the fact that basically everybody's dead, either everybody is really dead, or the only surviving people is the only surviving person is Dr. Greenbell. And the only scientists that were still there because they weren't sacrificed for the research are killed by another scientist, or the accident with the spores. It doesn't matter. It's both. But why even do the accident? It makes no sense. Everybody's pointing their fingers at Dr. Greenbell and say like, he's a bad person. But is he a bad person? I mean, yes, they do this research, which is stupid because it doesn't work and you sacrifice people. Yes, for that you can point your finger at Dr. Greenbell. That's absolutely okay. But why going to the length of sacrificing the few remaining humans? Well, not few, like when the accident happened, it was quite a lot of people still there. So why going bonkers and killing everybody just to stop the research? As if there was no way to talk to Dr. Greenbell and stop him. Like they could just band together and overthrow him, put him into jail. That would be completely fine. That would have worked. But instead, everybody's like acting they have no authority, like they have no power to stop him. But he's just a scientist, nothing more. He's a commander, yes, but it's not like impossible to overthrow him. So I don't get that. That makes not much sense. Even if you want to stop the research, there were other ways to do it. And then you have her, the success. I mean, I understand that she is angry at Jeremiah Greenbell because he sacrificed her to make this being. I get it. It makes sense to be hateful towards that person. But in all reality, even if the accident with the spores wouldn't happen to stop Dr. Greenbell, even if all these humans would have survived because no spore gas is going out, even then, and they overthrow Dr. Greenbell, but he already made her into a successful research being, why would she then still insist on, I want to murder him? I mean, you can make a simple deal and say, like, okay, help us first go back into our space time continuum, because you can control the energy, and then you can have Dr. Greenbell and do whatever you want. It's fine. Like, some decisions just don't add up. Or I'm simply missing things, or I ignore certain things in the law that I forgot about, potentially. But in the end, by my knowledge standpoint, in the end, we have now a different space continuum, a crashed ship on a planet, inhabitants on the planet that are fucking angry at the sky people, aka the humans, that crash landed on their planet. Um, the scientists try to find a solution. It's a shitty solution. And so one scientist goes rogue and says, like, we must stop this under any circumstances, kills everybody, or most people. And meanwhile, the head researcher slash commander decides, oh, this is the only person that can become a success in our research, does it, changes her, she is a success, she exists, he puts her into a tube and says, like, okay, you remain here, and I have to take care of this shit, whatever is happening there, tells the AI. And this makes even less sense. He tells the AI to kill people and make it this upper section secure and go somewhere. We have no idea where he is. Is he alive or not? I don't know. And she's there and she wants to get out, which is understandable. She's angry at him, which is understandable. And then she creates apparently these other life forms, somehow successful, similar to her, which then for years and years and years, and I don't even know how long the time frame is between the actual accident and this game. Like, it's really strange because one time you get an information that says, like, oh yeah, it has been 30 years. Like, basically, she says something like that. If I remember correctly, she says something like, oh, it has been 30 years. Which is a bit weird. Like, especially when you, yeah, well, it's not so weird. I mean, when she talks about the different stages you go through, she always says, like, oh, it looks completely different. Because she has, like, other iterations of Mo who tried to free her. So 30 years is not that weird. It's just weird because we see, like, some information when people talk about things like 100 years. Like one information, that's the weird thing. We find one single person that has an information that says, like, Earth has passed 1,000 years. Like, point one, how does this person know that? Because you're in a different in a different space time continuum. So, how do you know that? Like, you have no possibility to contact Earth. But so, point one, how does this person know that? Two, even if the information is correct and 1,000 years passed on Earth, which could make sense because space time continuum, like different time frames, different time flows, could potentially make it so that the time of 30 years equals 1,000 years in Earth, on Earth, not in Earth. Uh, so yeah, this is also like a random thrown in information that you can find, but you can also miss in the game, which also makes it weird. Like, huh. I mean, I had a point where I was like, okay, apparently this entire thing is going on since hundreds of years. But then she says, like, oh, 30 years. And I mean, both is applicable. Let's be honest, both is applicable. It doesn't matter if it's 30 years, it doesn't matter if it's 100 or several hundred years. It's just a long time. Which leads us back to the question, what happened to Dr. Greenbell? Nyeh. I mean, we saw the ending. It's basically setting it up for a sequel, which is not wrong, but it also makes you feel like, okay, I played this game, I get most of the story, but some questions are left open. I'm curious, but in the end, it makes you feel like, okay, why did I play the game? Like, I basically did everything right, but also wrong. So, on the good side, yes, I destroyed the Mantis Corp, extremity robot thingy that could, like, take over the universe. It feels like, uh, okay. But then you have her, and you're like, okay, I return to her, I give you all the memories, and you fall down, and she survives, which is okay. But she falls down and is there and is like, I still hate him. I still want my revenge. Rawr. Uh, yeah, great. But like I said, we have no idea where he is. Also, apparently 30 years passed at least. So there's a good chance, even if he was alive when he left the station and he survived, I don't think there are many high. I don't think there are high chances that he would still be alive because he cannot really survive the surface. And his even if he has like a breathing mask, he's not going to survive 30 years on a breathing mask with one filter. That's not going to happen. Especially not on a planet where the inhabitants hate sky people and you basically have no food. That's the other thing. So yeah, it's sad that I don't have these informations. I would love to have these informations. At least half of the missing informations would be nice to have from this game, you could still keep the secret of like, is Dr. Greenbell alive or not? That's okay if you put that in a sequel game. But the other questions would be nice to have an answer to it. So yeah, I know a lot of blah blah, but it's like that's is what's going through my mind. Like I really want to understand the missing informations in this story because the story itself at its core is good. It's the reason why you keep playing because you want to know more about the story. So yeah, in general, I think it's a good game. It's surprisingly more fun than it looks at first. Like I watched like the trailer, I looked at some screenshots, but otherwise I didn't know anything about the game. And I think it's good. It's a good action game. I think the story is a good driving factor in keep playing the game. And mostly it's executed well, but critics is like one, her talking to you about the environment. Like she is randomly always talking to you, giving you like information about the environment, how she remembers those environments and so on. It's like those parts are interesting to hear because you get new information about the entire place and the story. But it's badly executed. Like really, it's so random when she starts to speak, which is bad because you're like concentrated on the environment. And even worse, it happens too much when you need to concentrate on the game. Like you're concentrated to do an action sequence. You have to flee. You have to think because, like, this is moving and that is attacking me, and I need to jump and I need to double jump. It's like even in normal, easy puzzles, you're like busy doing this. And then suddenly she shows up and goes like, oh, hi, hey, story. And I'm like, ugh. Sure, I also spoke her because like not everybody is like reading the text. Sometimes people just listen to videos instead of watching it. That's the reason why I'm talking her voice. So it's why I'm speaking her voice when I was playing. But the first bad execution is it's random and it's often in action sequences or in puzzles where you do not have time to shift your focus to the bottom of the screen to read the text. And the second bad execution in this case is it's too fast. Like, here's the text, here's the next text. Like, it's too fast. I would say, like, okay, I have a reason to complain because I need to speak it out loud as well. Yes, that is a problem, but that is not intended when you play the game that you speak out what she's saying. I just do it because I'm streaming it. But that's also bad. Like, you're concentrated on something different, and suddenly she speaks to you. And now you have to shift your focus back down. You need to read it, but you're not even finished reading the line, and the line disappears, and the next one comes in. Like, even if you wouldn't stream this game and just play it, you would still miss things she's saying to you. The same happens, by the way, in the boss fight. Like, often, if not, no, actually, always. There's a boss fight, it starts up, and then either she is speaking to you, or for the final boss fights, you have the AI suddenly speaking to you, and the AI is giving you a tip of saying, like, oh yeah, I'm going to bring you bombs and you need to attack the this and that, to point out what you are actually supposed to do in this boss fight, where you have to throw the bombs into the vents, which, of course, if you observe the boss fight, you would also guess that this is basically what you have to do. But they chose to make the AI tell you, which is a good thing. Nothing wrong with that. The problem is the boss fight starts. Like, it starts. You're in an entirely new environment. All you do is scan the entire thing to see, okay, what's going on? I'm here. This is my environment. What can I do? What can I not do? There's the boss. The boss is about to start to attack. Like, you're scanning so much information at once that you don't have the time to then also concentrate on the bottom and read this text line, those text lines the AI is giving you with the tip what you are actually supposed to do in the boss fight. And that just sucks. Like, it's stupid. All of this is easy, is would be easy, English. All of this would be solvable with one thing: voice actors. And I understand this is an indie game. You don't always have the budget. And voice actors do cost quite a lot of money because you pay them by the line. They certainly need better payment regardless. Um, but the thing is this: when you play this action game and you want to get those informations, those crucial informations in boss fights, and those crucial lore details while you're actually doing something, or you're thrown into a new environment and you first need to understand what's going on, having a voice actor speaking to you is easier to do because I keep my attention on the screen, on what's going on, the action I execute, the new environment that I try to get a grip on. I can still listen. That's not the problem. Someone can speak to me while I play. That works. And if they had if they had voice actors for those things, which is like her and the AI, this is like two voice actors. That's all you need. If they had those, if they have had those, I think, uh, um, then it wouldn't be a problem because then I can concentrate on the game, listen to the voice actor telling me the informations or the lore, and I wouldn't be disturbed. It's fine. But the solution they chose is not a good one. And it's frustrating because you actually want to hear the lore and you want to read the tips given to you, which are basically meant to be crucial to understand you're in a boss fight and this is what you need to do. Or at least giving a hint what to do. And I think this is an important part that you need to understand, that it is important that you do this right. Because either you have to pause the game and give these informations clearly to the player, or you use voice actors where you don't have to disturb the action and the player still is getting the information you want to give them. So, for example, when you have the lore factors, right, which are randomly thrown at you when you play the game, the other easier solution when you don't want to use voice actors is here's the lie. No matter what you're doing right now, the line stays there. It's not going away until you press this one button that you never use in the game, that is not mapped to an action you use to play the game. And that wouldn't have been a problem because I look at my controller and I can tell you I still have at least two buttons, if not three, if I would add the start button to it, which of course opens the menu. So we leave that away. But we still had at least two buttons that served no purpose in the game. So if you mapped it to one of those buttons, then I could read the entire lore thing at my pace and at the moment when I'm not busy jumping around. That would have been a good compromise. When it comes to the boss battles, I would have solved it exactly the same way because it makes sense. Like, even if in a boss battle I'm like, okay, I'm stressed, I need to concentrate, even then, you could have gone as far as press the start button, it opens up the menu, and in this screen, you could progress the line that talks about the boss fight. Because you're not in the situation of like, oh, I'm on the head of an enemy and I scan them, and in this scan, I have the informations I need to do this boss fight. Would be another solution to do it, but it's kind of weird. Like, you would have a need for a dead or living body in every boss fight. So you could have this break when you read the scanned information. And that doesn't make much sense. But yeah, there are also a few there are also a few sections in the game where I say like it's kind of frustrating, but that's really that's very subjective. Like, I felt at some sections in the game a bit a bit frustrated because I couldn't pass it, or it was like, oh, well done, well, you failed, do it all over again. And I mean, all games have that. I cannot hold it against the game. It's like no game is perfect. Even the most beloved game that someone has, even the most favorable game, is not perfect. And yeah, it had a few sections of that where I was like, this kind of pisses me off because I really want to pass this. Like, I don't ask for, yeah, every section needs to be first try. No, that's okay. But when it goes on and on and on, then it becomes frustrating and it it sours down the experience a little bit. But it's not a big critical point. Like I said, it's a subjective thing. Um, what I don't understand is in some boss fights, and I played on normal, in some boss fights, I felt like the testing of those bosses weren't good. Like, I had the king, which was this inhabitant uh with this metal mask. So this guy was a boss fight, and he did like charging attacks, which is okay, but the further the fight progressed, he became faster with those charging attacks. And it's not just like straight charging attacks, like also diagonal, slanted, if you want to, attacks. And it became faster and faster. And it was at a point where I really had a lot of trouble to dodge it, because it's not only the speed of the attack, but like the successive attack afterwards also came faster, where you have like, I need to dodge. Okay, I dodged, and then he's already attacking with the next thing, where you have to figure out, is he going straight across or is he going diagonally up? Because you have barely a moment to see in which direction he will attack. And at that point, I had to lower the difficulty to easy. Sucks because I feel like it should be totally normal. It should be totally manageable to go through the entire game on normal. And I'm sure you can, otherwise, the difficulty wouldn't exist. But it makes me wonder, like, I play on normal, and below that is easy, and there are two more difficulties ahead, like two more difficulties above that. I think one is an adventure mode, so I'm not entirely sure if the adventure mode is like whatever difficulty, if there is a difficulty for that. I don't know. Um, but there's certainly at least one difficulty higher than normal. So my thought was like, if I have trouble dodging this boss on normal, I don't want to know how fast this boss is going to be on hard. But it's certainly possible. Like, I'm not going to be here and say, like, I have the fastest skill in the universe. I can dodge anything. It's like I take like 0.3 seconds to press a button. It's like, no, I see my own weakness of taking too long to react. I see that. That's okay. And the difficulty of normal and hard wouldn't exist in the game if they wouldn't have tested it that it is going to be possible. But on the other hand, like today, where we fought the mech boss as a mech, uh, I don't get it. Like, I really don't get it. It's like you cannot pass the mech section without taking damage. Like, it's not gonna happen. So you're gonna take damage. Definitely. And of course, you're getting healed in between the stages you go through. But the last boss, as a mech, it's like, how? Like, I played it on normal and I couldn't even get close to the point where the boss had like almost no life anymore. Like, huh? I'm really like, I don't get it. Like, you could perfectly execute the dodge of stepping forward and back with your mech to avoid the damage that comes from above. That's possible. But then you have still all the attacks coming from the front. You have potential here and there flying enemies attacking you. And don't forget, you have constantly exploding Roombas coming at you, as well as villagers. So, moving your machine gun from the top to the bottom takes time. And you also have to consider that you literally have to attack non-stop. But you can't. The machine gun can overheat. And if it overheats, it takes a quite substantial time to cool down before you can use it again. So you're basically meant to use it, maybe to half heat, maybe to 2/3 or 3/4, and then stop to let it cool down and then use it again. Maybe you have to tap it. But even if you execute the step back, forward, back, the steps forward and backwards, even if you would use the machine gun sparingly, you still have to move the machine gun like from the top to the middle and to low, because you literally have to kill the Roombas. You can walk onto the villagers. That works. I think you're still taking damage for that. And but you have to kill the Roombas, and you cannot get near the tank because you're getting the flamethrower into your face. But it's so chaotic, even if you perfectly executed the point of stepping forward or back to dodge the attacks from the top, and you somehow at the same time can manage to keep in mind where the Roomba is stopping, so you can step back when it explodes, that it doesn't hit you, then you still have the enemies which you need to attack in the air. And you also have to hit the boss as well. And the shield you have, like, you can use it occasionally to avoid the most damage when possible. But as we saw, I came into this fight and I didn't have full health. So I came in, I already had not full health because it's almost impossible. Well, maybe I exaggerate here again, but I think it's pretty difficult to reach this boss fight at the end and still have 80-90% of your life. And even then, I would say it's probably extremely close, an extremely close call to manage to kill that boss at the end. Because literally, you can fire non-stop at this boss and you die. I tried it. You could see it. Like, you can do whatever you want. Like, I still ate a ton of damage because executing 3 steps while doing flying enemies and the boss and the Roombas and the attacks from above, and doing this all in 3 steps, like forward and backward 3 steps, would still take so much damage. You would still take so much damage that you wouldn't survive. Especially since the shield is basically possible to be used maybe twice at that point. And you cannot ignore the enemies, the flying enemies. You cannot ignore the flying enemies. It's not possible because they come in and you have to kill them. Because if you don't kill them, it's additional damage you eat that kills you even faster. But to hit them, because your machine guns, you couldn't see that, but I can tell you, it's like the machine guns cannot point all the way up. Like you have a limit how high you can raise the machine gun. So you have to step to the left side of the screen, aka the furthest away you can be, to actually hit the highest birds with the machine gun. And you have to do it at least once, because otherwise you wouldn't get rid of that bird. So, and then it takes time from the top to aim back down to attack the enemies at the ground and the Roombas. And at the same time, you should basically step forward, because at best you want to fire the machine gun so it hits the boss and the attacking enemies on the ground at the same time. But that only works if you step in 2 or 3 steps. But don't forget, at the same time you need to dodge attacks from the top, which means you have to step back again. And it's like, I personally don't understand. Like, at the point where I was, I couldn't get any more health. And I tried it. I tried to fire everything at this boss constantly, ignoring everything else, maybe trying to dodge the attacks from the top and attack only the boss. That's what I tried. I had no chance to defeat that boss. And I think even if I did this boss for a long time and managed to dodge many attacks, not most, many attacks, then I still wouldn't do enough damage to kill the boss. AKA, the game would softlock me in that boss fight. And my only solution would have been to reset the chapter. Like, really? Like, that would have been my only solution. Not like last checkpoint, because the last checkpoint is basically the beginning of the last phase of the boss fight. You cannot freely choose, like, going back 2 checkpoints or multiple checkpoints. You can only go load last checkpoint or reload chapter. And I think that's not a good solution for that boss fight. It's like you cannot go and say like, oh, here's the boss. Yeah, good luck. If you don't have this amount of health and the amazing skill of dodging 100 attacks at once. Okay, it's not 100 attacks, but like dodge 10 attacks constantly to avoid as much damage as possible, while constantly attacking the boss instead, to have a chance to defeat him on normal. On normal. I don't want to even imagine how this boss fight is on hard. So yeah, the only chance I had, at least that, I'm glad that we can change the difficulty in the game at any given point. That's good. because that was the only solution that worked at this point to set it to easy. So I did a lot more damage on easy. And then all I had to do is execute it better, dodging attacks, killing enemies faster. I was just surprised that in easy mode, the boss fight literally starts with flying enemies. While on normal, it was like no flying enemies, just normal things. And then, like 10-20 seconds into the fight, the actual first flying enemies came in. And on easy, it's like right away, here are flying enemies, which I didn't understand because the flying enemies are like the biggest increase in damage taking. I guess they made that decision of saying, like, okay, we make it a little bit harder to uh, deal with enemies, but you deal a lot more damage. I guess. But that was the only solution that worked to get through that boss fight. Of course, I'm convinced they tested that and people managed to kill that boss. But I wonder if they tested it under circumstances of like not everybody goes into that fight with 80-90% of life on normal and hard. But yeah. Look at streamer talking about the game. Yeah. I think I think those are the biggest critical points for me personally about this game. Otherwise, I really enjoyed the game. It was fun. It was good. I feel a bit sad about the story gaps I'm having here. I feel like balancing wasn't executed in the perfect way, could have been better. But in all honesty, if they make a sequel to this game, which they set this game up to, I will happily play it. I truly do. I just hope they learn from this game and improve upon it. Like, do quality of life changes to the game. Mostly what I criticized personally, I feel like should be addressed. And if you make a follow up game that's similar to this, I will happily play it. Mostly because I also want to know where they are going with the story. To be honest, yeah, that would be interesting to see. But I don't know if they will do it. So, hmm. I wonder. Let me have a short look here. No, Astray store page. Like, I don't know if. No, this is more Astray. Apparently, the newest game is like Demo, which is a Taiko game. Makes sense. This game came out 2019 in October. So in other words, 5 years, almost 5 years ago. Also, if I remember correctly, I read about the game that it was like a small project, like a student project, something like that, that was picked up by the publisher and then they invested into it, something like that. But yeah, I mean, 5 years, okay, we have to agree 3 years of those 5 years basically do not exist. Hi, Davamir. Um, but still, I wonder if they're gonna make a sequel. It would be interesting to see.